Coming up next on the Rockbridge Report. A post-trial hearing in the Natural Bridge Zoo case started today at 2 p.m. Our own Margaret Beimdeck will bring us the live updates. And later, cleanup efforts are underway following last week's Baltimore Bridge collapse.
We need to lift those undamaged containers off to give us space to safely operate, to begin to plan to remove portions of the bridge that are also now embedded into the ship.
But before that, Lexington will be in nearly perfect position to view next week's solar eclipse. We'll tell you everything you need to know.
You really need to plan ahead and be safe.
And finally, Madison Carlin will tell you whether today's cooler temperatures will stick around this weekend. All that and more coming right now on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Judy Gong.
And I'm Caden Buss. We start our show tonight with an update on an ongoing story here in Rockbridge County. The Rockbridge Report is covering a hearing this afternoon in the aftermath of a court's ruling to remove 71 animals from the Natural Bridge Zoo. Our Margaret Beimdeck is live outside the Rockbridge County Lexington Courthouse with the latest.
Thanks, Caden. The hearing just ended. A Rockbridge County Circuit Court judge refused to disqualify lawyers from the Attorney General's Animal Law Unit from the Natural Bridge Zoo case. Judge Christopher Russell is holding a hearing on motions from the zoo owners. Defense attorneys Aaron Harrigan and Aaron Cook wanted what they called a neutral prosecutor. Russell said changing the prosecutors was a drastic remedy that needed more proof. The judge also refused to set aside the jury's verdict. A jury decided after a 6-day trial last month that 71 animals had been cruelly treated. The jury also found the remaining animals should remain in Rockbridge County's custody. 29 animals were designated for return to the zoo because the jury said they had received adequate care. Russell is scheduling another hearing to deal with the cost of caring for the animals and who's going to pay. We will have the latest updates on the judge's rulings on our website, rockbridgereport.academic.wlu.edu. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Margaret Beimdeck.
Thanks, Margaret. We also have some breaking news this afternoon out of Florida. A federal judge ruled that she will not dismiss classified document charges against former President Donald Trump. There are still more than a dozen outstanding motions for Judge Eileen Cannon to rule on, including several other motions to dismiss the case.
We now turn our attention internationally, where a massive deadly earthquake rocked across Taiwan's east coast early Wednesday, flattening buildings, trapping residents, and triggering mountain landslides. Emergency officials there say that at least 9 people have been killed and 934 injured. Wednesday's quake is the strongest to hit the island in a quarter century. With the threat of more aftershocks still possible, Laura Aguirre has the story.
The early morning commute in Hualien County, Taiwan, shaken to a halt as a massive 7.4 magnitude earthquake rocked the island's eastern coast. This television studio and many buildings in the epicenter, a county of over 300,000 people, were left damaged or destroyed. Collapsing structures trapped people inside. Some were pulled to safety quickly, while frantic search and rescue efforts got underway to find others still known to be in the rubble or who were unaccounted for. Taiwan's National Fire Agency says some of the trapped are foreign nationals, as this mountainous region is popular with tourists, especially hikers. Several dozen people, they add, are believed trapped in collapsed or blocked highway tunnels, with the threat of continued landslides looming. The U.S. Geological Survey recorded about 30 aftershocks greater than 4.0 magnitude in the hours after the initial quake and warns more could happen in the days ahead. As of early Wednesday, all but one hospital across Taipei City, the island's capital just over 90 miles away, were operating normally, despite suffering varying degrees of structural damage, say local officials. The number of injured estimated at over 900 people and could climb, as may the death toll. President Joe Biden is monitoring the rescue and recovery efforts, confirmed a National Security Council rep, and the U.S. is standing by to offer assistance. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
7 major earthquakes have hit Taiwan over the last 50 years. Prior to Wednesday, the most recent one was a 7.1 magnitude quake in 2006 in southern Taiwan.
Back at home, the Buena Vista Police Department has gotten some help tackling the city's drug problem from four-legged officers. The Rockbridge Report's Mackenzie Kane reports.
Meet Hans and Maverick, Buena Vista's K-9 unit. Hans has been with the force for 2 years. Maverick joined about 6 months ago after the Bedford County Sheriff's Office gave him to BV. The dogs can detect heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine. Hans's handler, Officer Matt Slagle, says the department needs the dogs.
Drugs are everywhere. They're taking over. It's pretty bad in our city.
In 2022, BV police made 24 drug-related arrests. Last year, it more than tripled to 78 arrests. So far this year, there have been 16. BV Police Chief Wayne Hanley says most of those instances are for possession of methamphetamine, but he doesn't believe using the dogs will result in a large increase in arrests.
I do not predict that we will see so many more arrests for narcotics that we will clog the court system up or unfairly prosecute people for a crime that they did commit. If the dog alerts and we find narcotics, that is something that is enforceable as the code is written.
Lindsay Stinnett has 2 young children and has lived in BV for almost 15 years. She says she wants safe streets, but she worries about addicts who keep getting arrested.
I just think that the system sometimes just rotates them in and out, and they just constantly, it's a crazy cycle, and hopefully we can have some resources to help them.
Resources are on the way with a drug court. Buena Vista's Commonwealth's attorney Josh Elrod told the Rockbridge Report last month that local authorities will receive training in alternative sentencing procedures beginning in June. Reporting from Buena Vista, I'm Mackenzie Kane with the Rockbridge Report.
Another resource on the way is a new drug rehabilitation center that is scheduled to open in Buena Vista on April 15th. Hope House on Magnolia Avenue will house 6 men who have gone through drug rehabilitation and are learning to live drug-free. The renovation began last July and is almost complete. Lexington, Buena Vista, and Rockbridge County have each kicked in money to pay for Hope House. The contributions came from each jurisdiction's share of settlements of lawsuits filed against pharmaceutical companies blamed for the nation's opioid epidemic.
Rangers at Natural Bridge State Park have worked for the past year to reduce the park's light pollution. Ranger Kenny Horowitz says the efforts paid off when the park received silver-level dark sky status from Dark Sky International last week. Horowitz says rangers removed non-essential lights and placed others on timers and motion sensors. He says Natural Bridge became a dark sky park by dimming and removing some of its lights in 2021. Lexington and the county are celebrating International Dark Sky Week, which ends on April 6th.
Millions of Americans are expected to travel to see the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Cities and towns along the route of totality are expecting big crowds. While the boost in visitors is good for local economies, the extra people are expected to cause chaos on the roads and in the skies. Jen Sullivan has some safety tips and warnings for travelers.
It's a rare event, a total solar eclipse, and millions of Americans are expected to travel to see the awe-inspiring sight on April 8th. But that means more drivers on the roads and more passengers at airports.
You really need to plan ahead and be safe.
Communities from Mexico up to Canada are in the path of totality, meaning the moon will completely cover the sun, creating total darkness during daylight. Some areas like Western New York are expecting 1 million visitors. Elizabeth Carey with AAA has several tips for drivers, like navigating the old-fashioned way with a map, especially if you're traveling in less populated areas.
In a very rural area, you're talking about wilderness with no cell service.
AAA also recommends drivers don't try and watch the eclipse while driving. Have your headlights on. Don't wear your eclipse glasses while driving, and watch out for animals.
It could trigger wildlife to be out and about.
And if you're flying, the FAA is warning travelers to expect long lines and possible delays at airports. Monday's eclipse falls during the busy spring break travel season. The FAA says they're expecting more than 46,000 flights the day after the eclipse. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Rockbridge County will experience the eclipse at 2 o'clock Monday afternoon. NASA's website shows that our area will experience about 87% coverage when the moon crosses the sun's face and blocks it. Then you can see the sun's corona. Natural Bridge State Park says the eclipse will reach its peak at 3:15. The park is hosting a viewing party on its Skyline Trail. NASA's website urges you to wear special glasses when you look at the eclipse or risk blindness. You can pick up a pair at the park, online, or at Walmart. Next chance to see a total solar eclipse in the US? Not until 2044.
That's right, Judy. This is something you do not want to miss. Our education reporter, Claire Hamlet, has some updates on what local schools are doing for the big event. Claire?
Thanks, Kaden. Lexington City Schools will be dismissing 30 minutes early on Monday. K-5 students are not allowed to remain on the playground or on campus unless accompanied by a parent. There will be no activity bus running to Rockbridge County High School or Maury River Middle School. Buena Vista City Schools will be dismissing at 1 p.m. that day, urging students to safely observe the event.
Thanks, Claire. Coming up next on the Rockbridge Report, cleanup is underway in Baltimore on the collapsed Key Bridge, but officials are running into roadblocks.
At the moment, we're trying to meet immediate needs, and those needs evolve from week to week.
But before that, controversy in Lexington. Melo Sembaye will be live downtown to tell you about how one business owner feels Main Street Lexington is coming up short. Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. Next Stop Nelson Street is a new downtown campaign centered around promoting local businesses. But Lexington already has an organization that does just that, Main Street Lexington.
Some Lexington business owners on Nelson Street say they welcome a new social media campaign that's trying to attract more customers. Violet Consignment owner Sheila Glacier started a Facebook account in February called Next Stop Nelson Street. She reshares posts that downtown merchants have already put on Facebook. She says she started her Facebook page after she was fired in January from Main Street Lexington. Glacier worked as Main Street Lexington's social media coordinator. Glacier said in an interview that she created her Facebook page because she was unhappy with the way Main Street Lexington promoted downtown businesses. Main Street Lexington Board of Directors member Jeff Hughes says Glacier was fired because the board was moving in a new direction. Reporting live for the Rockbridge Report, I'm Melo Sembaye.
Mountain Gateway Community College is expanding the vocational courses it offers in Rockbridge County. The college is renovating the old Ford dealership building in Buena Vista where classes will be offered. Claire Hamlet has the story.
Local high school students will get more options for vocational training next year. Mountain Gateway Community College will offer courses in plumbing, welding, commercial truck driving, and electrical and construction work.
When you start looking at programs like welding and diesel mechanic, those are things that once the students finish, they typically walk right into a position.
The community college bought the old Ford dealership on Forest Avenue to house the new classes. College president John Rainoni says it will cost $7 million to renovate the 18,000 square foot building. He says he expects the building will open for classes in February, with up to 200 students in the first year.
Right away, students can see the benefit of the programs.
Some Perry McClure High School students are already enrolled in Mountain Gateway courses, but adults also can take advantage of the new classes. Rainoni says people who've recently lost their jobs could take classes, or he says adults who get more training could earn promotions or change careers.
The beauty of a community college is that we serve all ages.
Mountain Gateway already offers the same vocational courses at its Clifton Forge campus 40 minutes away. Rainoni says he selected the courses for the BV location after talking to local employers like Carillion Clinic and Modine Manufacturing. But the new building will be flexible enough to add classes when needed.
So as these trade programs might run its course, we can then take out certain equipment and then be able to bring in sort of what's the new and next program.
Rainoni says Rockbridge County, Lexington, and Buena Vista have all helped pay for the renovation of the old car dealership. Rockbridge County gave $50,000 and Lexington paid $40,000. Buena Vista gave over $70,000. BV also received about $700,000 in grant money from the state. Private donations and federal and state funding will cover the rest. With the Rockbridge Report, I'm Claire Hamlet.
An audit conducted by the Postal Service's Inspector General found significant problems at a new regional processing facility in Richmond. Problems include water-damaged mail left unprocessed for months and a worker asleep at a forklift. The Richmond facility is the first of a planned 60 regional processing centers launching nationwide that are supposed to streamline operations and improve efficiency.
In Maryland, the U.S. Coast Guard has released new video showing just how difficult the work is for dive teams at the site of the Key Bridge collapse. On Wednesday, challenging weather made it much harder for salvage and recovery efforts along the Patapsco River. Mike Helgren has the latest from officials in Baltimore.
Rough weather is again hampering salvage and recovery efforts at the site of the Key Bridge collapse. New video shows the difficulty for divers working in dangerously low visibility.
Just a couple inches beyond my fingertips.
All right, so you can't get to the bottom.
They have to be guided by detailed verbal instructions and direction from operators and vessels up at the surface. And what those divers are doing is they're trying to feel those connections. The sonar, the imagery can show you where things are and how they're laying, but it's really important for us to know how these are connected, if they're connected at all.
While the images that we are able to see with the camera of above the water are breathtaking and horrifying, what we are seeing here under the water, where you're now having debris and wreckage that is sitting inside of a channel, inside the Patapsco River, much of it collapsed and pancaked, with a 50-foot depth, is absolutely staggering.
8 commercial vessels have been able to pass through the 2 alternate channels, bypassing the wreckage. Water testing shows no contaminants, including fuel, in the Patapsco, and crews are staging to remove the containers on the dolly, but they must wait for the weather to clear.
We need to lift those undamaged containers off to give us space to safely operate, to begin to plan to remove portions of the bridge that are also now embedded into the ship.
Baltimore city leaders authorized $1 million for workers impacted by the tragedy to supplement their incomes while the port remains closed.
This money is just an initial move. It is not nearly enough to cover all the businesses or the workers who will be impacted.
A separate city fundraiser for the victims' families has raised $500,000.
At the moment, we're trying to meet immediate needs. And those needs evolve from week to week.
The lieutenant governor held a moment of silence before the state spending board this morning,
in remembrance and in honor of these 6 individuals.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, snowstorms slam the Northeast. We'll tell you just how much March snow will be falling.
We have a break from the showers today and the skies are looking clear. I'm Madison Carlin. I'll have more details in my 5-day forecast.
And later, I'm Jack Hunter, and I'll be bringing you the latest March Madness storylines in about 8 minutes. Stick with us.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. The National Weather Service predicts a long-duration winter storm will produce significant snow and gusty winds across the Great Lakes and Northeast. Nearly 12 million people, mainly across northern New England, are under winter weather alerts. Heavy, wet snow is expected across northern Wisconsin and upper Michigan Thursday. In the Northeast, some areas could get more than a foot of snow. While it may not be snowing here in Lexington, temperatures sure have cooled down from last weekend.
That's right, Caden. Can we expect the trend to continue this weekend, Madison?
Judy, it's looking like a better next few days. I mean, what is up with today's weather? April Fool's was on Monday, but the skies cannot seem to make up their mind. We've been bouncing back between showers and sunshine all day. You're looking at a live shot of downtown Lexington. Let me tell you about today's weather. Cooler day today, high of 49 degrees. You can see our lows 34. Barometric pressure 29.5 inches. Wind speed and humidity high today. Wind speed 14 miles per hour. Hold on to your hats, ladies and gents. Humidity 51%. Let me show you our radar map for today. It is quite colorful. You can see showers have just hit across the entire area. Let me tell you more about the current conditions. April's off to a cooler start, and with Lexington and Buena Vista rainy and 48 today. Stanton 47, Charlottesville and Lynchburg a little bit warmer in the 50s, a little cooler for Roanoke, and Covington a chilly 36 degrees today. Now everyone's just waiting for the sunshine to come back out, and if you're in Lexington, I can tell you you're in luck. You can put away those umbrellas. It's going to be a drier next few days.
Tomorrow, we are going to be in the 50s and sunny, starting us off to a nice, lovely weekend. Sunday, we are getting up to 65 degrees, which will continue into Monday. Monday, some clouds rolling in that will bring some rain to an otherwise perfect Tuesday, high of 76 on Tuesday. Now, you know what they say, April showers bring May flowers, and you're looking at a nice weekend ahead. Back to you, Caden and Judy.
Up next on the Rockbridge Report. One Hawaii man, one big in Vegas. We'll tell you just how much and just how far it will get him in his home state.
But before that, Jack Hunter will be bringing you the latest in local scores. All that and more next on the Rockbridge Report.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. March Madness sure is reaching its peak.
Yeah, not only is NC State on a Cinderella run, but Caitlin Clark is an absolute phenom, right, Jack?
Caden, I'm starting to run out of words to describe how dominant she is. This season has been a revolutionary one for women's college basketball. We've seen a season full of packed arenas and TV rating records. It was capped off Monday in Iowa's Elite Eight victory over LSU in a matchup that set the all-time TV ratings record for a women's college basketball game. In a game with the sport's two most popular players in Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, it was the Hawkeyes who punched their ticket to the Final Four behind Clark's 41 points. The only bad part about this game is that it wasn't the national championship, but we have a great Final Four weekend on tap starting tomorrow night. There are two schools who have both their women's and men's teams in the Final Four, NC State and UConn. This is the first time it's ever happened. And on the men's side, those two schools are dominating the storylines. NC State has been the darling of the tournament after being the latest double-digit seed to make it to the Final Four. UConn has been the team to beat this whole season and has quite frankly looked unstoppable at times. The Huskies arrived in Phoenix late last night at 3:15 in the morning after their flight was delayed because of mechanical issues, but they are now there trying to become the first team in 17 years to win back-to-back titles. Here in the Valley, the WNL men's lacrosse team continued its unblemished conference record with an 18-8 victory over Shenandoah last night. The blue and white face their toughest conference foe Saturday when they go to 11th-ranked Lynchburg. The women's squad also faces their toughest conference contest this Saturday when they host 15th-ranked Roanoke College at 11 a.m. The team is coming in playing well after beating 10th-ranked TCNJ last weekend in Maryland. Across the street, the VMI men's lacrosse team is having one of its finest seasons in program history. The team defeated Canisius last weekend to improve to 6-5. Those 6 wins mark the most Division I wins in a season for the team since 1995. They'll hit the road to face conference rival Manhattan this weekend. Keydette baseball started off a 5-game road trip Tuesday with a loss to Norfolk State. VMI has a .500 record overall, but it's just 3-10 on the road this season. They'll look to turn things around this weekend when they travel to play Gardner-Webb. Busy week in sports, but that's all for me. Caden, back to you.
Thanks, Jack. Someone from Hawaii got a nice surprise on a visit to Las Vegas. The unidentified tourist hit the jackpot on a Wheel of Fortune slot machine over the weekend, and the jackpot was worth nearly $1.2 million. It happened at the California Hotel and Casino. That's a lot of dough for a spin that only costs $10. Although Zillow says it's only enough to buy a house in Hawaii, where the average is $839,000. Speaking as someone from Hawaii, it's worth every penny. That's all for the Rockbridge Report. Thanks for watching.
Check out our website, rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. Good night.